Hi, and welcome to Telepathic TV. This is television you watch with your third eye, and I'm R. Neville Johnston.
And I'm Mary Phelan, and our program is about raising our consciousness.
Raising consciousness is primarily changing the way in which you've been taught to think into ways that we are going to suggest will brighten everything for you. Actually see the bigger picture. Actually live in your world based on your ability to connect to the greater truths, the greater principles that exist in our universe, rather than through the very common technique of being guilty, which is how most people function, based on guilt. And we're here to change all that. We're here to become the ascended human race. One way in which we can do this is to change our time map from the Gregorian piece of nonsense into the true calendar, and I never quite go for saying things that way, so into a calendar that will serve you well. Today in Mayan is?
Men, tone 3, and men means eagle in the Mayan language. And eagle, being the highest flying bird, has a very keen eye to see things. So it's a very logical day, and it's a tone 3. So it's how to use your logic to support you rather than to work against you. Would be a good thing to do today.
And what's always fascinating about Mayan is that tomorrow will be 4 Kib, and 5 Kaban, and 6 Etzneb, 7 Kalak, 8 Ahau. You know a great deal about the future as soon as you begin to study the Mayan. In the Gregorian calendar, you know virtually, what is it, SSDD is about all you know about the future in Gregorian. To know a lot about the future, become hip to this. If this was 100 years ago, nobody would know their zodiac sign. This is now, and virtually nobody knows their Mayan tone and tribe, and you'll be able to find out later on in the show if you call in. Past the dangling of the duck, we would be, Mary would be happy to look up your Mayan tone and tribe for you, so you can find that information out. And it's a whole new identity. When I found out Virgo, I thought that was quite an identity, and I did my best to become disorganized. No matter what, I was organized. Now, what did you wish to, we were going to talk about, Seichim, which is much, much, much older than any of the healing systems we have on the planet. You can trace it back easily 26,000 years, although that would defeat the entire hierarchy of the archaeologist, or that would be archaeology, highest, whatever that word would be, but it would be an interesting word, and it would have a lot of syllables. At any rate, to explain Seichim is to suggest that if the word Seichim continues to bounce around in your head, even being one of the early thoughts of tomorrow for you, that you are tuned to Seichim. And Seichim comes, let me first explain that Egypt is a star colony, and each of the netters, each of the Egyptian gods, represents extraterrestrial civilizations. One of these extraterrestrial civilizations is represented by Sekhmet, the lion goddess. That happens to synchronistically be located in the Leo galaxy, Leo constellation. And each of these netters, each of these civilizations brought gifts for mankind, and Sekhmet brought the gift of touch healing, much older than Reiki, much older than current systems. And if it resonates with you, you may consider getting in touch with us, as we are showing people the path of Sekhmet and Seichim.
Yeah, and I look at Seichim as being the healing energy that is behind all healing. And it's there for you to utilize how best it works for you, rather than it being some kind of a structure that you have to mold yourself around. It definitely does. I remember, you know, Seichim came to me long before I ever heard the word. I had been waiting tables at the time, and I had this really sore foot. The ball of one of my feet hurt, and after I had finished working a long day, my foot was, it was just, I was in agony, could hardly walk. And one night, I just felt like this energy come through my hands. And, you know, this is true for all of us. We all have this. This is our birthright. You know, we were not given things without solutions. We were not given pain and illness without the solution of healing, existing in this exact same place. And I just took my foot in my hand like this, and it just, I remember looking and observing my hands as if they weren't my own. And this little piece of glass just comes out of my foot, and I was completely out of pain from then on. And I mean, I just touched it, and a piece of glass that had been in my foot came out that would have been the cause of the pain. It's really incredible. We hear so many stories of miracles, you know, and spirit guides and how our higher guidance communicates with us. The topic for tonight, we're going to talk about how everything really is perfect. You know, you think, oh, I missed that train, or I didn't get to go to this event, oh no, I overslept. These kinds of things where we start thinking, oh no, I've done something wrong, or I've missed something, and then come to find out that the event would have been boring anyway, or it didn't happen. We've got to get to the place where we know everything is perfect. And our own healing as well. We have a friend that told us this story. He was sleeping, lying down in bed, and he was sound asleep, and he's a very deep sleeper. I mean, it really is hard to wake him up from the stories I've heard. And one night he just had a stack of boxes next to his bed, and he just heard this tiny little sound that woke him up, and he sat bolt upright really quickly, and that stack filled with heavy books fell right over where his head was. I mean, you know, you hear stories like that all the time, so everything really is perfect. If a noise wakes you up or if something delays you, look for the perfection.
I've known this particular individual for many, many years, and I tell you, someone drove a car through the front of his house. I am not kidding. And I was his guest at the time in the front room, sleeping on a couch. And I definitely noticed the car come through the front of the house. And the driver was like, okay, and I go, and he puts it in reverse and backs out. So there's this gaping hole in the front of the house. So I go in the other room, wake up, wake up. And nothing.
So for that little tiny sound,
so
like a little creak, made him sit up.
Amazingly out of character.
If we just trust and live in the flow of the universal energies that go along.
One thing we can practice is the recognition of what's called willful behavior. When I lived in whatever city that was, and I was supposed to meet somebody at a specific time, and like I drove a half a block past where I was supposed to turn off to meet that person, and I went, I forgot. So I spend 67 turns, you know, cities, to get back to where I could negotiate that right turn again. And when I went there, they weren't there. They hadn't been there. They weren't going to be there for a while. They had just spaced it. And I had just spaced it till they're entered, willful behavior.
And
guilt. In the form of guilt, or willful behavior is where you're going to make something happen. It doesn't work that way. Our entire life must be recognized as and lived as the byproduct of actually enjoying our life. Now, when the moment that I was past the street, if I'd had willful behavior as a term to think with, okay, I would have gone, well, I guess not. And forgiven myself that I wasn't going to, and then later found out. I can recall many times where I had scheduled in the calendar an appointment with someone, and I didn't even know it was scheduled. I didn't know till later on that it was. So this forgetting is actually universal edit, which is another term we would introduce.
Well, I just